these Pila cases. They're 100% compostable, but I found that they've been very protective of my phone. I drop my phone a lot, and they've done a great job of protecting my screen. I have 4 that I rotate through all throughout the year, and so I swapped over to my winter phone case. We have had our first snow of the year, so it felt like it was time to swap this out. And I also changed the photo on my phone, and then on the back of this phone case, I don't know if you'll see it, but there's an etched sort of winter scene. It's like a snowy mountain with trees and a moon. I'm not sure if it'll pick up, but I'm feeling very festive with my phone like this now. So I'll tap on this while we whisper about all the other favorites, and we'll start with my favorite action for the month. At the very beginning of November in the United States, our federal government was shut down. It was actually a record for how long it was shut down. And as a result, folks that rely on food subsidies were not going to be getting the money that they needed to buy groceries. So I volunteered with a local food bank and signed up for a shift where I was volunteering in a grocery store asking folks for donations. I was really sad and upset that in one of the richest countries in the world, my government decided that feeding people wasn't a priority. I was sad for the reason that I signed up for this, but I was glad to be in my community, meeting people and hearing directly from them. And our government has since reopened, and those benefits are going back to the folks that need them. The other action for the month was that I received an AdSense payment here on YouTube, and so I was able to make an Artist Trust donation because I was posting a lot less this fall. In September and October, I didn't receive any AdSense payments, but I got one at the end of November. Drumroll, please. We were able to donate $132.25. Round of applause. Round of taps for you. It felt good to be able to make a donation to Artist Trust since I hadn't been able to in a while. A couple different actions in November. One with time and one with money. My next is a category that I don't have in every favorites video, but it is gonna be favorite conversation that I had. And I was talking to my coworkers about how I wished every weekend were a 3-day weekend. Like, having that extra day makes all the difference. And one of my coworkers was like, yeah, because then you'd have 1 day for rest, 1 day for fun, and 1 day for community, whatever that looks like to you. I'm someone who likes a schedule and likes a structure, and something about that idea really stayed with me. I loved the idea of actually breaking down a week like that. It's 4 days of work, 1 day of complete rest, no pressure, no plans, another day of fun. So whatever like fills your cup up, whether that's going out to dinner with friends or cooking a meal for family, could be, I don't know, a day that you spend on your hobbies. And then the last day of the weekend is for community, so it's a day dedicated to either building a community, like you have to do something with people, you know, whether it's hang out with your neighbors or volunteer in your community or make a date with friends. I just really loved that idea. I wonder what it would look like if we all embraced a 4-day work week. At my job, that is not the case. We work 5 days, so we get a 2-day weekend. But I think I'm gonna at least ask the question question if our leadership team would ever consider going to a 4-day work week. I know a lot of places, well, not a lot actually. I know there are places that do this or offer more flexible schedules so employees can kind of pick their schedule a little bit more. And I don't know how realistic that is for my particular job, but it can't hurt to ask the question. So, in the meantime, I usually, when I'm volunteering for stuff, I take vacation time off of work to be able to go do that during the week because I need all my time on my weekends to catch up on chores around the house here and make time for family and friends and everything. So, I don't know, just something about the structure of that, the conversation with my coworkers, of hearing other people be like, I had a job once where we did 4 10s. That was kind of the most common one, and people were like, I loved having that 3-day weekend. So again, can't hurt to ask, and there's a lot of research to support that people are more productive during shorter work weeks. So I don't know. We'll see what comes of that. I'm trying to decide the best way that I want to bring it up with my leadership team because I want them to take it seriously. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just saying it to be funny. I'm for real. Next category is favorite movie. And for November, a movie called Train Dreams started streaming on Netflix. Train Dreams was filmed in Washington State, where I live. Told the story of a man, I think this was like in the 30s. 1930s, I believe. The story of his life. The highs and the lows. The duality of joy and sadness. And because it was all filmed in Washington, it felt very grounding to me to watch it. I talked about it with a couple coworkers, and one of my coworkers said that it was a simple story well told. And I think that's a perfect summary of it. It is a little sad. It had me a little weepy when I was watching it, so if you're not looking for something like that, maybe pass for now. It was visually beautiful and made me feel human, if that makes sense. That was my favorite movie for the month of November. Honorable mention for the month of November is that my husband and I bought the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended versions of each movie, which I've never seen before. Shout out because ASMR Fleur had mentioned that she's reading all the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. When she was talking about reading The Hobbit, it just made me remember how much I love the Lord of the Rings movies, and my husband and I, we love having a series or something to watch where we know for a couple nights in a row that we can like dive into a particular story. So we decided that we would do that with the Lord of the Rings movies as a way to wind down before bed because they're really long. I think it's going to take us a while to get through them all, but we did finish The Fellowship of the Ring in November, and we can start the Two Towers in December. Let's go now to my favorite music for the month, and this was an easy one because there was one album that I listened to over and over again this month, and that is gonna be Lily Allen's new album, West End Girl. The first song that I heard from the album was Pussy Palace, and I do think that's my favorite song on the album, but if you have not heard about this album yet, it is essentially detailing in chronological order the reason that her marriage to an actor ended. If you don't know, Lily Allen was married to David Harbour of Stranger Things. They got divorced, and I was unaware of this, but when her album came out, I heard that essentially her ex-husband had asked her to open the marriage up, and she agreed to do that, but they had an arrangement for how it would work, it's not a metaphor about the end of a marriage. It is literally, this is what happened. And it's kind of messy, honestly. I have some weird feelings about it because if a male artist had like aired all of this dirty laundry about a woman, I questioned like would I feel the same way about a woman telling the story, airing the dirty laundry of her relationship with a man. And in listening to the album, I feel like Lily Allen explains exactly why she put the album out. To me, it's like taking all of the pain and sadness and hurt from a sad situation